Ladies and gentlemen, in the next panel, Redefining Cybersecurity of Critical Infrastructures, please welcome Professor at the University Campus Biomedico of Rome, Mr. Roberto Setolla. Head of System Solutions at Group IB, Mr. Stanislav Fesenko. Cybersecurity Product Manager Stefanini Emea, Mr. Alexandru Berta. This panel is moderated by Technical Officer, Cybersecurity Telecommunications Development Bureau, International Telecommunication Union, Mr. Marwan Ben Rashid.
Hello. Good afternoon. Distinguished speakers, experts, hello Marwan. Hello Roberto. Nice to see you. And welcome in Moldova. Roberto is still sad that he is not coming to Moldova, but he is online. Distinguished experts, panel speakers, I leave the floor to Marwan. And thank you for joining us. Stay tuned, dear participants, and we continue our conference.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Natalia, and thank you for this kind introduction and also for your kind invitation to the third time for the Cybersecurity Week in Moldova, which right now is becoming a tradition for ITU to become member and co-organizer of this event. So before going ahead to this panel, I would like to welcome here our distinguished speakers, Mr. Roberto Setolla from a professor at the University Campus Biomedico of Rome, and Sebastiano Francesco, Head of System Solution of Group IB, plus Mr. Alexandru Bereta, the Cybersecurity Product Manager from Republic of Moldova. So in this online webinar, where we would like to tackle the subject of protection of critical infrastructure, where we will discuss the different aspects of redefining the cybersecurity of critical infrastructure. So we will start by the first presentation, which will be provided by Mr. Roberto Setolla. Roberto, the floor is yours. Thank you. You are muted, Roberto.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the invitation to this event. I will start by sharing my presentation. I'm trying to share, sorry. Okay, can you see the presentation? I'll do this way,
yes.
So it's better.
Yes, we can see, Roberto.
Perfect. And okay, now, well, when we talk about critical infrastructure, we have to consider that this system manages at the same time information technologies, the usual problem related to the cybersecurity that you are discussing this day, in this week, but also such system manage another type of information layer. This other type of information layer are generally indicated as operational technologies, but sometimes also as industrial control system, or more generally, even if a bit less correct, as a SCADA system. What are these systems? These are systems designed to manage the different physical process. These are systems designed to support electric grid to manage electricity, gas pipeline to share gas, but also all the systems that are inside our cars. What is the main difference of this type of system with respect to normal information system? is that the evolution of such systems are constrained by the physical element. In other terms, the time evolution of such system must be compliant with the specific physical process that they have to manage. This contributes to introduce several constraints that are not so relevant into normality system. Among other, the most relevant is that for such system, the availability of the information is crucial, is more critical rather than the confidentiality. Moreover, this because such systems work generally in hard real time. This means that an answer from the control system outside some window of time, some time step, is useful, or at least it cannot prevent some catastrophic event. This aspect, related with also some other elements, make such system difficult to be protected, especially against cyber attack. But there is also another aspect. During the years, several plants has been blocked by cyber attack. This because when there is no adequate communication from the field and the control center, the system generally move into a safe condition. Then it shut down, stop, and so on. During also this year, we observe a lot of attacks that halt plant over the world, from Australia to Japan and also in other countries. However, there is also another aspect that we have to take into account, that a specific attack, or better, the use of specific sequence of command can transform a cyber attack into a kinetic attack. Or in other terms, I can create some physical damage using incorrect command. Notice that to perform this, I have to consider both IT vulnerability, because only thanks to the vulnerability of the IT layer, I'm able to penetrate inside the control network, but then to transform the cyber attack into a kinetic attack, I have to use command, legitimate command, in order to move, in order to command the system, the physical system, into a dangerous condition. Until 2007, we assumed that such type of attack could be impossible due to the need to have a deep knowledge both of IT layer, but also of the operational technology layer. We needed to know which are the command, which are the right command to be used, but also which are the right variables to be changed. This seems really quite impossible to obtain. In 2007, we had the Aurora project in the United States, where they illustrate into a very scenographic way what can be done with a cyber attack. Specifically, they were able to destroy a 27 tons power generator that I show in this slide, and you can see also the video on the internet. However, all the experts assume that in order to perform such type of attack that is related to command a different frequency of rotation for the rotor of this power generator, in order to create some vibration and then to induce the physical break of the broken of the system, was possible just because the attacker were able to know exactly how the power generator has been realized, which are the exact variables that we have to take into account. However, after such episode that has been to consider just a lab test, we had several other type of attack like this. The most relevant, the most famous has been Stuxnet, which rumors assert has been able to destroy more than 500 centrifuges in Natanz in Iran, centrifuges that were being used for to enrich uranium, and in which way such a worm worked. It used several vulnerabilities in IT to penetrate inside of the control network and then use legitimate command to send erroneous values to the centrifuges in order to allow them to work into a correct speed, then introduce vibration and then broke. After the Stuxnet, we had several other attacks. I show here some of them. Those on the left are substantially without no consequence, while Black Energy 3, crash override, produced blackout into Ukraine in 2015 and 2016, while the Triton attack on the right produced a shutdown into a petrol plant in Saudi Arabia. But what is the characteristic of all these attacks that are reported here? Is that once they penetrate inside the control network, they learn how the system, the control system operates. They learn which is the cause-effect relationship in order to identify which are the command to be sent, which are the variable to be changed. Specifically, Black Energy 3 and crash override produced the blackout in Ukraine because once penetrated inside the control network, were able to send command to the substation, the electrical substation, in order to open the breaker, in order to disconnect the network. Then they had the capability to learn which are the legitimate command to be used and in which way I can use such legitimate command to create physical damage. However, to do this, such system needed to be inside the control network for a long time because they had to learn such approach, to learn this into an unsupervised approaches. Some studies show that these tools were present inside other company from more than 5 years before they were discovered. Experts suppose that to learn such command, a system like this, a software like this, spent no less than 2 years. It was quite sure that all these attacks were more a proof of concept. I'm trying to learn what I can do with my capabilities. In this year, there was another attack. In this case, the attack was not able to perform because it was discovered just before it was active. It was an attack to the Israel water distribution system during COVID in March, during when there is a very hot period in Israel. There are not so much technical details on this attack, but it was surprising the reaction from Israel related to a call for an immediate reaction because the threat is changed. Just a week ago, also the Australian government stressed the need to have this fast reaction. Even if there are no specific details, experts are assuming that this new class of malware had more artificial intelligence capability, then they are able to learn in which way I can use legitimate command to perform malicious attack. This means that I'm moving from 1 year, 2 years of learning time, something that in a couple of months, the malware is able to produce its effect. This means that I'm moving from a cyber attack that can be considered just a strategic resource to a tactical one. Unfortunately, the action performed by this type of malware is increasing in time, and moreover, large part of these are supplied by government-like structure. And these attacks are very effective. I report this, this is an Italian study, but if you see on the most right histogram, you say that the attack that's coming from government-like company are very effective and very critical. The question that we needed to pose is, are we ready to manage this new class of attack? Are we ready to manage the problem that a cyber attack to critical infrastructure can be done? I don't know, it's just a question. I think that actually we have, there is in the world, a large capability to perform attack, but unfortunately our capability of defense is not so in advance. We need to improve the capability to react to this such an attack, starting from the human element, because I suppose that human is the most relevant factor also in cybersecurity, or better, especially in cybersecurity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roberto. And I cannot agree with you more. I think the human capacity building is the most important pillar in the protection of critical infrastructures. I think here we can open the floor here for the question. I would like to check with Natalia if there is any question from the audience there. Natalia? Okay.
No, Natalia.
Yeah, no problem. So I cannot see here any question in the audience. So, so we can move here now to the next presentation. And it will be performed by Mr. Stanislav. Yes, Natalia.
Marwan, you can continue with the presentations, and then if we have some questions in the chat, I will let you know.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. So we move right now to the next presentation, which will be performed by Mr. Stanislav Foshesko, the head of System Solution Department. Stanislav, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'd like to say thank you to Roberto and his report. It was really great to hear that the members worldwide are thinking about problems with technological infrastructures. I have to tell some words about our company, Group IB, and tell a little more about our research about industrial sector and industrial infrastructure safety and security. So our company started in Russia, but now it's a worldwide company and we work in a lot of countries. We have a headquarters in Singapore and into Amsterdam and so on, and we have several small offices in other countries. For the last year, we've made several researches about cyber threats on technological networks and operation networks. So let's watch which results of these researches we can present. So our statistics says that 69% of specialists who works in cybersecurity industry thinks that the level of cyber threats for industrial networks and for technological companies is high or critical. That means that the real problem is to provide safe and secure technological processes nowadays, because we can see a lot of cyber attacks and we can see a lot of new cyber threats for these industries. The second topic is that 45% of incidents which occurs with technological infrastructures and critical infrastructures are caused by human errors and social engineering techniques. So here I'd like to add that this year with COVID-19 problem, we have we fixed a lot of social engineering, which it's phishing emails and so on, and all of them used the topic of COVID-19 for social engineering. So if we saw before that attackers used social engineering based on human maybe curiosity, now we see that they use the problem when people are really scared about all of this situation. And the last one is that 25% of companies from technological infrastructures, they made often a lot of researchers inside, and they are doing penetration testing, and audits into their infrastructure because they understand these problems. So the general attack types for industries is, first of all, targeted attacks with using of malicious software such as Trojans, and we see a lot of new attacks into industry. If several years ago the most part of such attacks were for the financial sector, but now we see that the vector of attackers is moved, and now they're more and more interested into technological networks, because attacks on financial sector became more difficult because of a lot of modern anti-APT systems, which doesn't get them to do attacks, and technological companies are not protected as good as financial sector now. Well, the second problem is ransomware attacks. It's really most popular type of attack this year, and ransomware used not only to take money from company for decryption, but it is also used to hide all of the maybe digital indicators which can be used for the future incident response and to find attacker. So we also see that such type of attack as non-targeted attacks on IT infrastructure is popular too. Here I have to say that all of the attacks onto technological networks started, not all of them, but about 85% of such attacks started from compromise of IT segment of network. And it is so because it's much easier to attack someone who works with maybe money or with low in company, and after compromise of their workstation, attackers tries to find a way into technological network and attack company after that from technological network. We also saw several crypto miners into our customers, and of course, industrial Internet of Things devices are compromised too, because there is no common standard for security of such devices, and we have a lot of problems here too. And the last one is, of course, phishing emails with attachment containing remote access tools. And we see a lot of attacks to technological companies with such emails. Well, if we are looking at the problem, what for the attacker tries to compromise technological networks and IT networks, the main target for them today is to sell remote access to the compromised network into darknet. And one of most popular hackers who did it this year, and our company published a big report about what he did. It's a hacker with nickname FXMSP. And here you can see several industries and how much credentials to these networks he sold, and how much money he got to these attacks. And we can see that the most big part of his attacks, it's light industry and informational technologies. So it says us that the problem of technological networks security is the real for this year. So let's talk about ransomware much more. And here I have some numbers. And the first is that ransomware attacked more than 62% of all the companies of our customers, and not only our customers, it's our statistics worldwide. And we see that 58% of victims paid for decryption, but just 34% 34% of them, we remember that they paid, they couldn't decrypt corrupted information into their network. This means that paying the ransom doesn't guarantee the return of your data. It is so because a attacker buys tools for encryption into darknet, and they don't know who developed these tools and this software. And we see a lot of problems with decryption because the algorithms from this software works just into one side, just to encrypt. But for decryption, not all of the algorithms can work correct because developer didn't think about it when he developed this software. I'd like to add here that if you pay to if you pay cyber criminals for decryption, you give them more money to create new attacks, and this is another problem. We are trying to solve a problem of our own company, but we can increase the number of attacks to our industry at all by this way. So the main task of modern cybersecurity systems and tools is finding of weakness of infrastructures, eliminating of them, and fixing these problems before the attacker would find these problems. So, as I told before, the most part of attacks on industrial networks starts with attacks on IT segment of network. And here we can see such risks and aftermatches. So the main risks for IT networks is low level of employee awareness about cyber threats. It's about people just don't know which emails they have to open or not open, which documents they have to read, or just say about these emails and documents to their administrator, security administrator. Another problem is bad connectivity between security services in IT network and technological networks. We see in our customers that there is two security services. One security service provides security for IT network and another for technological. And the main problem here is that their goals are different, and they not often can talk on one language, and they not often can solve problems together. And it's a real problem. The main pain here is incident response, when both of these services have to be included and work together. Another risk is that sometimes we don't have enough data for investigation and incident response, and it's rather often then all of the data is corrupted. As I told before, attackers use ransomware not only to take some money. Sometimes they use it just to hide all of the digital maybe marks into network, and we can't investigate these cases. And the last risk is using of legacy versions of software and dictionaries for password checking and so on. Well, using of legacy software is dangerous because all of the problems with security in old versions are known for attacker, and he used it. So, which aftermarks? Well, I see that my time is practically out.
This is just please, you have only 1 minute, please. Thank you.
Okay. Well, let me then say some things about how dangerous attacks on technical infrastructures. So we have a lot of attacks, and Roberto said about several of them always, but I'd like to add about attack on Iranian missile factory this year. And there was an explosion after software attack, and this factory was it just disappeared on our map now. And I like also add that a gap between technological and IT network doesn't work today, and we have several rather easy cases how to using hidden channels attack network behind the real gap. So I have a lot of other examples, and we've developed a system for detecting attacks into technological networks. Now it is into a market, and it's named Threat Hunting Framework Industrial. And you can just take this solution and test it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stanislav, for this excellent presentation, and also for the list of use cases that you shared about the countries, also for that Roberto, he did the same. Right now we'll move to the last presentation, which will be by Alexandru Bretea. Alexandru, please, the floor is yours. Thank you. Alexandru, you are muted, please.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Marwan. Stanislav and Roberto, thank you very much for your presentation. Hello, everyone else in the virtual room. Nice to meet everyone in a digital format. My presentation today will be really short. I will try to focus on what we can do, not only some things are just inherent. We can only fight against the effects and try to mitigate them. But let's see. Hopefully my presentation is still visible.
Yes, we can see the presentation.
Okay. So moving straight to the statistics, it's actually derived from our own work, so it's not independent research. It's our own database of findings in our cybersecurity services. So as you can see, many of these systems that we test are vulnerable with at least one critical vulnerability. And most owners, whether it's CISOs or IT security professionals, maybe not all of them, but most think that their security posture is much better than it's actually the case in reality. Adding to this, that the average time to fix these vulnerabilities is weeks or even sometimes months. It creates an open gap for attackers to throw in exploits and take over entire infrastructures, especially critical infrastructures and manufacturing. Of course, it makes little, it is not so relevant that most of these vulnerabilities are actually application side. It's irrelevant. The attacker only needs to exploit one of them, while the rest of us need to patch all of them. So it's a slight imbalance. Now, everyone knows that hackers have traditionally used the dark web. They use this covered network segment of the public internet to share tips and tricks and develop special techniques and ways to compromise us and to attack us in different ways. Some are more creative than others. You won't believe what's behind the sheer dark web content. But of course, if you take a good look, you will see that they actually exchange not just new techniques, but entire new attack scenarios. So they will prepare a good, let's say, modus operandi together with all the details that are required. So everyone that reads the content will be able to perform such an attack. This is interesting. So already you can imagine that if you are up to date with all this, you will be able to anticipate some types of attacks, and not only that, but you can also anticipate what technique will be used. So whether, as Stanislav said, it will be a phishing email or just a drive-by download of a website, or if it will be a physical attack, someone will come in and just plug some mobile device into a PLC or other type of connector, command infrastructure, then even for air-gapped devices, that's no longer the case to be considered safe. So whether someone will walk in with a stick and just plug it into that port, this will be a critical attack. Dark web shouldn't scare anyone, but it has evolved into a marketplace of services, and crime has really developed as a service. Part of my work was actually tracking and modeling this crime as a service model, which is a different topic. But for today, what matters is that it is booming, it is flourishing, and you can actually buy most crime as a service individual components with fractions of cash. So a few dollars, tens of dollars buys you quite an effective attack. Denial of service and other types of threats are now in the hands of anyone with a few dollars. And it actually buys you a fake credit card and valid credit card as well. So how do we fight that? Well, we have developed, not we as in the security community for the last 30 plus years, and I've been a part of this for like at least 10 years already, and we have developed a framework, a security architecture where we use threat intelligence. We've always done this. Anti-malware products have virus definitions ever since they were created, but that was effective back then. Now our security solutions are much more complex. We have firewalls, we have intrusion prevention systems which work actively. And they're, of course, only as effective as the intelligence that feeds them. So whether the providers you and I are using, if they update their intelligence often and they put in accurate information, then that equipment is strong. If it's out of date, you will not know, but the effect is that that specific hardware will be almost useless. And attackers, especially the really determined ones, will use state-of-the-art technique, and they will prove their attacks against being discovered, and you will not be able to find it even with a specific set of up-to-date tools. So what's important to get from this is that threat intelligence has evolved, maybe not as fast as the attacks have, but it has evolved. You're looking now at more techniques to defend yourself and to anticipate attacks. So moving past the open source of threat data, which are really valuable and it's really a good practice to use them. So blacklists of various types that may or may not be so accurate, but they are still a good level of defense on top of what you already have. So getting all those IPs, file hashes, and web domains and subdomains that are known to be malicious at some point, it's good to get that information and use it in some way, preferably in a proactive way, blocking them in advance. Then you go a bit further, you go to the dark web, you monitor what's going on, you monitor your brand, you see if someone is talking about attacking you, or a new attack scenario has happened. Maybe it's not specifically targeting you, but you can defend yourself by covering that type of attack. So you can take some risk measures in the anticipation of an attack for that specific, let's say, new tactic or procedure, or TTPs. Attribution and attacker profile, of course, is very important, because once you monitor a specific set of attackers, you will know they are part of the same group. They are mostly interested in some domains, like targeting critical infrastructure, targeting power plants, targeting power distribution units, hospitals. So they will be somewhat specialized to some specific areas. They will be targeting some. Reputation is also important. So an attacker that has gained an underground reputation, is really strong and has a good presence there, will be much more respected and much more, let's say, feared by also his peers, but also by us, their targets. Again, having an advanced risk assessment helps a lot because it brings more context. It not only shows you the paperwork, the tables that we are all accustomed to, the Excel tables that are sometimes considered worthless, but bringing some additional context like social media exposure of critical employees, key staff, right? If they are using social media in a wrong way or they disclose too much data about the company or about the protection systems, that's a risk. It comes into a risk assessment. So as I said, TDPs in attack context come in very helpful. You will prevent attacks just by knowing how attackers will operate. This is very important if you integrate all this to your existing cybersecurity ecosystem. So if you put in all this information in your firewall, in your email security gateway, it's a major step forward. Of course, the advancements in the last 5 or 6 years in AI augmentation also helps. We bring AI to this type of service, and any of the vendors will tell you this, because it makes operation more efficient, and it will just point out the irregularities and sometimes even help with detection. Briefly, I will not spend too much time on this. What you need to do, it's best to do as a process, regardless of the vendor, regardless of who is doing it for you. You can check if your partners, resellers, everyone is really complying with your brand rules, or maybe the contract that you have in place. Threat intelligence, of course, you need to have a discovery step. You need to look in the dark corners of the web to see if any signs of compromised assets might point to your direction. So if not necessarily if your organization is compromised, but sometimes third parties that work for you are. So they might be leaking your data. Whenever you find an offending resource like phishing websites that target your brand and your login page, you need to take that down together with the proper authorities. So filling a takedown or a copyright, takedown notification or copyright notification to the ISPs and the web hosts and social media, that really helps. So in a nutshell, to the right side, whichever your company profile is, proactively searching for any of your data that might have been lost, just pretending or assuming that it was already lost and you have been already breached, is a good step forward in the maturity process. Again, for some types of companies.
Sorry, excuse me, but you still have only less than 48 seconds. Thank you.
Okay, so these are the objectives that we need to take. The two use cases are really short and to the point. One would be where a company will try to prevent these cyber attacks. As I said, they will push this information into the equipment. The equipment will know the dangerous resources, and they will prevent access from outside to your organization or from the inside out. So actionable intelligence helps. And then the second one would be to prevent fraud by using this type of data, finding this exposed data, whether it's card data or any other type of intellectual property like plant blueprints or how the equipment works, how the schedule works. This also help. You will find this proactively and fight to mitigate. You cannot prevent the leak. The leak has happened, but you will prevent the risk becoming even more significant. You can take proactive measures to diminish the risk. I think that's all on my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Alex, and we apologize for this limited time in this panel. But here, I think we still not have a lot of time. I see that we still have only 2 minutes, and maybe here I will we can ask 1 or 2 questions here to our panelists, Natalia.
Thank you, Marwan.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you for very nice presentations, and I don't think we have questions, and I think we're just right in time. If you, Marwan, want to ask something, maybe one main takeaway from each speaker, and then we continue to the program. Thank you.
Thank you. So here, just a quick question here I would like to ask to our panelists, and as all of you know that the operators, the main operators of the critical infrastructure are coming from the private sector. But the protection and the national cybersecurity protection is the missions or the mandate of the government. So how do you see the relationship between the private sector and the government in this, and how they should work together in this area? So
Well,
who is responsible? Yeah, Roberto, please.
Okay, I start to answer. Well, I can report the Italian experience. In Italy, the critical infrastructure operator, even if they are private sector, they are very active into the cybersecurity. And they had a good cooperation also with the public sector. I can see that for some aspects, private sector are more effective, especially for elements related to information sharing on problems related to threat, vulnerability, attack, and so on. We needed to improve the capability of cooperation between public sector and private sector. More complex is how the operator, small operator, regional critical operator, and so on, which are has less attention on the cybersecurity. I think we have to work on the small and medium enterprise, which is very the problem for cybersecurity today.
Thank you, Roberto. Any other insights from other speakers you would like to?
Well, may I answer this question?
Yeah, please.
So I believe that the best way is when government thinks about standards about cybersecurity for industries, but not by their own only, but using the knowledges of the specialists from these different industries. I think that the standards for oil and gas and for electricity have to be different. And I believe that governments have to help all of the commercial companies to understand how to build safety networks and create standards for them.
Yeah, thank you. The last takeaway here or recommendation, Alex, what do you think the most priority or what you recommend to the operators in Moldova, the critical national infrastructure operator in Moldova, what is your recommendation to them and how to secure their systems? Your last recommendation, please, Alex.
Well, actually, to summarize and liaise with the other question, it would mean that we should really focus on providing state authorities and relevant authorities in CERTs in most cases with the relevant threat list and the incident list, and so they would get to know all this information and distribute it by sector, by layer. And as a general recommendation, it would be just one, to really keep an eye out on risk assessments and on applied threat intelligence, because it will make a huge difference. So whether it's just industry company or a different service provider, then you need to take risk assessment and threat intelligence really serious moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexander, and I would like also to thank the same Roberto and Stanislav for their excellent and presentation and accepting to sharing your expertise and knowledge in this area with the colleagues in Moldova. I think we come out to the end of this session. We are just 3 minutes behind the schedule. I would like to thank you again, and also would like to thank the participant from Moldova for attending this session. I think we came to the end. Natalia, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Marwan, so much, and thank you for experts and speakers of this panel. Indeed, this topic is really very important, and I want to use this opportunity and to thank ITU for being a co-organizer of this event. And actually, Marwan, it's the fourth time, so you see, ITU is with us already 4 years. Also, I want to encourage participants to register to the webinar on SCADA, organized by ITU, where you will have the possibility to do in practice what you've heard today and to know. Thank you so much. I wish you a great afternoon.